So welcome to part 2 of our module 1, the orders of love. Were there any questions of yesterday's teaching content, the first order of love, that you might have come up over the last 21 hours? No? How about we recap what we have learned in the first part? Yeah? Shall we? Okay, so we were talking about the first order of love. And the first order of love is belonging. And we have looked up who belongs to the family system. We found out that to the family system are belonging the blood-related family members in direct line. These are the parents and the siblings. Yeah? And we have found out that the siblings beyond generation 3 do not belong to one's family system. Hi, Karen. And we have found out that same is with partners, partners and former partners who belong. They are not blood related, but they belong through destiny. And then we also looked at how victim-perpetrator dynamic form a bond that makes one become a family system member of another family system. And this can go through all generations, all the way to generation 7. And we also looked at the source of life and love, however you want to call it, who does also belong to a family system, where all the love comes from, that is flowing, right? So that was the basic, whatever, in a nutshell, the belonging. And then we talked about destiny, conscience. We have talked about 3 different conscience: the personal conscience, the collective conscience, and the conscience of the spirit mind. And about destiny, and we have discussed destiny and free choice. Yeah? And we talked about guilt, right? The emotion of guilt, and what importance it has in family constellation. And yeah, so that was that. Karen, do you have any question to yesterday before we go ahead?
Hear me? Oh yeah, I'm not muted. I was interested, I did have some questions, and sorry, I've just rushed to get here.
Sure.
Apologies for being a little bit late.
No worries.
It takes me, because I'm at hospital, they have to unlock a certain room for me, and it requires staff support.
Oh, it's amazing that they do that for you. It's amazing. It's really great.
Yeah, they're very kind.
Yeah.
I was wondering, in relation to guilt, so we know that guilt isn't real, but guilt arises as an emotional expression to show where trauma is. What was, but I did you sort of indicate that it was a particular type of trauma that guilt kind of almost signposted and identified? And was that the guilt related to the family consciousness system?
Yes, that's correct. That's very good. Is this related to the collective conscience or to the personal conscience? Depends on where it comes from. But it just as otherwise you wouldn't know that guilt, because guilt doesn't exist, because we talked about destiny, right? So if we are born free, not with free choice, but we are born free beings with our destiny, and then we are conditioned in the the first 7 years in the personal conscience, and then we made guilty, for things that you all have experienced that, and it's really hard as a parent not to, even if you're very conscious about it, not to, or if it's not you as a parent, then it's maybe society, it's a school teacher or a neighbor or somebody, a leader, a religious leader. So this is really hard to escape, right? This concept of guilt, so you think it is real. Now, when you do something, when you are adult, you do something not nice, for example, killing somebody else, then you have this underlying feeling of guilt. However, this is not what you show. And why that is, we talk about that in Module 4 in detail. But what you show is fear, anger, revenge, aggression, sadness sometimes, or depression, or any kind of other emotion, but not actually the emotion of guilt. Is very, because the emotion of guilt has such a low frequency that it's belong the energy of frequency you can actually live, like a cell can survive. So this is why you are carrying this sensation of guilt deep inside. And it doesn't come to the forefront. However, in family constellation, when we're working with the soul movement and representatives, that is when the sensation of guilt comes forward. And then this is where you look. And then most often when we find the sensation of guilt, we are working with the victim perpetrator or advantage disadvantage situation in a certain dynamic that we go through in the next module, or in the next, well, coming up soon. And then you can see if there, by this emotion of guilt that then surfaces in a family constellation, what kind of dynamic you have in front of you, and what kind of dynamic you want to work with. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Awesome. Right. So let's go into today's teaching content. Here we are. The part 2 is the second order of love, and the second order of love is the question, who comes first? Right? Remember, we have an order. We have established who belongs to a family system. Now we need to know in which order they belong. Yeah. This is also called the order of precedence, or in German Ursprungsordnung. Obviously, all these English terms are a translation from Germany. We will look at how does this all looks in a patchwork family. Like what I mean with patchwork family is a modern family where, you know, there's maybe children from several relationships. They all live together. Maybe even same-sex parents. You know, all these kind of modern families that are emerging. We are looking at the order in organizations. And we are talking about family constellation and phenomenology. Is there something else coming? No, that's it. And we start right there. So I have briefly pointed out that Bert Hellinger's approach is the phenomenological approach. If you have not heard this word, it's from Latin, and it's widely used in Germany. It is also used in English, but it's not so well known. So if you haven't heard this in English, don't worry. A lot of English-speaking people have not heard about that yet. What does that mean? It is, by definition, the study of things as they appear in our experience. So it is something to be experienced. It's not a theory, right? That's important. How does it work is you find similarities, and from similarities, you're forming a rule. So let's say you are observing 100 family constellations, and in 70 of these 100 family constellations, you see an interrupted movement towards the mother, and the breakthrough of this movement is when the child says please. Not when it says yes, not when it says thank you or anything else, just please. Then you form the rule that when you have an interrupted movement towards the mother, the child has to say please. Yeah? That's the phenomenological approach in this example, straight from family constellation. Could be in any other discipline, right? So you sit there without expectation and you just watch what's happening. And then you try a couple of things, and then you see what works, and then you do it the next time again, and it works the same, and so on, and so on, right? So you don't need to understand it. That's what I want to say. You don't need to form a theory behind it. Yeah? This is not important for the phenomenological approach. It is important that you can experience it every single time over and over again. And not only use others as well. And then we are, and this is kind of the opposite to, and that is testing the rule. This is the next step. You test the rule. Now you have a rule. You say, okay, if I have an interrupted movement towards the mother when the mother stands there and the child says please, then a movement is enabled to overcome this interruption. Now then you test the rule, and you would put up, in other family constellations, child and mother, and you would not ask all the questions. You would go straight away to the child and say please, and then you see if you're right, if the movement takes place or not. So this is opposite to the academical, or what people call scientific approach. In the academical or scientific approach, you start with a hypothesis. And then you are creating experiments to see if your hypothesis is right or wrong, right? So can you see the difference? You have in your head already a question. In your head you have already a preconceived outcome of what you want to see. And unfortunately, in the last 150 years, the scientific or academical approach has become the most used. But what is the problem with this? What do you think?
They're finding now that, like, when we're looking at what is it? It's like quartz or
Quartz, yeah.
Yeah, that they're finding now that when we have a preconceived notion, the outcome can match to the notion. Like, we can create the outcome. Therefore, we may not be finding the truth of a situation because we're skewing it already with our bias of an expectation of what it is.
Exactly. That's exactly the key word is here, expectation. Expectation are forming our reality. Yeah, this is a phenomenon. We can also use a phenomenology approach to see that, right? And you can test it in your own life and with others. If you have, this is how we work, if you have an expectation, chances are that you will experience it. Yes, Karen? No?
No, apologies. I didn't think we were recording.
Yes, I was good today. Thank you. Thank you for thinking. Really good. So this is, hang on, this is exactly the problem, expectations forming reality, right? So for our work, it is important that we are, now, of course, now Bert Hellinger has given us all these tools through his phenomenological approach. Now we don't need to do that ourselves anymore, but it never hurts. Because remember, every rule has an exemption. To start every single family constellation as if it would be the first one. And don't expect something to happen. Right? I know it sounds a little bit contrary. It's probably more like a divine dichotomy or something like that. It works. You can be both. Yeah? You can be knowledgeable and open at the same time. Right? Just with a little bit of practice, and of course your intention to do that. Yeah. Okay. Now we talk about the second order of love, precedence, and we're looking at the order of birth. So we start with our mother. The mother is the one who gives birth to the baby. We all have a mother, and she all has given birth to us. We have the father. He has equally contributed to your beingness, right, with half of his genetic pool, although the time spent to create you was much shorter than the time your mother spent to create you, right? But nevertheless, it is the same value. Nothing happens without the other. Then we have the children. Now, the children come last, of course. First are the parents, then the children. That's obvious. Hmm? In the orders of love, in the second order of love, it says, okay, the parents come first, and then the children. And mind you, there is a lot of misconception in society. It doesn't work like this necessarily, right? So this is where family constellation and society is also going a little bit apart. Children, they have siblings, and also here is the order of birth, the right order. That means what child came first is first. The oldest child has more say than the younger child. It's not a democracy. We all know since a few years that doesn't exist anyhow. It's all theory. But also in families, democracy doesn't exist. There is an order. The order is in the field of the family system. However, it's not only the one who is born who comes first. A lot of parents have lose their first child, either a late miscarriage or an abortion or a accident or something like that. However, this child is the first one. And you would see that in family constellations when this child is missed out as a lost child, the other siblings don't feel right in the order that you place them. I mean, not the representatives of the siblings. They feel it. They feel that something is missing. The most important hint is here that one of the siblings says, there is something on my right shoulder or left where there is nothing, yeah? Or that it feels cold on this side. These are the hints that you know, oh, okay, there is one of the siblings missing. So what we do is we choose another representative and see, phenomenology approach, if this sensation of coldness or somebody is missing or somebody is there who's not there is still there when the representative is put there. And in pretty much all the cases, they feel better. All the siblings, they feel just better. And that is the soul movement. You can trust that 100%. So siblings, I say order of birth is not quite right because not every child is birth, if you will, if you have an aborted or miscarried child. But what I mean is the order of conception, let's call it that way. Yeah. Whatever child was conceived first comes first. Now we go through that in balance and we will find out why it is so important that every child has the right place in the family and is not put on the wrong place. This is causing suffering. We have adoptions. Where does an adopted child come in? If you have a family and there's an adopted child, now I would like you to answer this question after yesterday with anybody? Give it a go.
Do you mean an adopted child coming into the family?
Yeah.
In the last order of birth?
Try it again.
Age
Charlotte?
order, the age order, or the order they were brought into the family. So if they came out.
We are just talking about siblings. If there is a adopted child in which, let's say the adopted child is born in 2020, yeah, in this family, and it's in 2010, and comes into the family with 5 years, 2015. And there was a child born in 2013, and there was a child born in 2019. Right?
I would put it in age order. So I'd put them in this adopted child in the middle.
Okay. Anybody agrees? Or is there any other solution?
I would put it as first.
Okay. Any other?
I would put it because we can cover our bases between us. So we know we're going to get it
Yeah,
if we all
good on you.
choose a different answer. I'm going to put
Yeah,
the child as the last order.
Okay. Okay. Courtney, any other vote?
I think I'll put it at the last order because there's no bloodline.
Ah, that was a good hint. So I want like Janet, maybe. Maybe another vote.
I think I would put it last too.
Okay, so the majority of you put it last, right? Okay. And what is the right answer? Nowhere. It doesn't belong.
You said that yesterday, that it
Yes.
already belongs in its own blood
Yes.
family system.
Exactly.
Yes, you've already
Exactly.
told us. Yeah.
Oh, it is
So,
a
Is
question.
it that it's like it's bound by destiny, but it's not in the order of birth?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to make it a trick question, but it just turned out to be. But now you won't forget it anymore. That's it, right? Now you won't forget it anymore. Then we have the missing children. Obviously, we need to know when they have been born. That's still the order of birth, yeah, or conception, if you will. All right. Now, these are the children. Half siblings are not in my list. Half siblings, when they have one parent, the same, of course, order of birth, right? That's logical. Follows the same logic. Okay, let's talk about grandparents. So grandparents obviously came before the children, but also before the parents. So the grandparents come before the parents, right? So they come first. And then the same for great-grandparents. Also, they come before the grandparents, so they all come first. We can also say ancestors. We often represent ancestors as a whole through one representative to make it easier. They come first, then there is the grandparents, then there is mother and father, and then there are the children in the order of their conception or birth, however you want to call it. It's a very easy, very logical. So just don't be confused. It's easy. It's logical. It's easy. It's what you would expect. Whoever was there first comes first, because without the one who was there first, the next one wouldn't exist. No, it's a very logical way to think about. So I just want to make it sure and point it out. There is just really one tricky question, and that's an adoptive child, right? Okay. But Charlotte has already said it. Yes, the adopted child comes into the family system by destiny, right? When it doesn't has a specific order in the siblings, so it can be anywhere, right?
Excuse me,
Karen,
Maya.
yes.
So, sorry, do the mother and father, they come in the same order, or does the
Yes.
mother come first and then the father?
They come in the same order. So if
Okay,
you look
okay.
at I like this picture. Remember the stream? We're coming back to the stream of love and light. So the top is the source where the water springs forth, and then there are the ancestors, and then there are great-grandparents, and then there are the grandparents, and then there are the parents, and then there are the children in the order of their birth. If you look at the parents or the grandparents, this is like a lake situation. Yeah. So it's actually as if the stream comes down into a lake, parents. Then it goes back to in stream into the next layer of lake, which is the next layer of parents. So father and mother are, in the second order, they are same. However, we will talk about that. There is a subtle difference between mother and father energy, which may be important in one constellation. So let's talk about the mother. Now I hope you got all your photos of your mother here, because I can't wait to see her. I would like you to introduce your mother to us by holding up the picture into your camera so we can see it. Or I can also, if you ask me, I can share it if you have it on your computer. right? If you have it on your phone, just try to bring it into the view of the camera as good as you can. And then I would love to hear her name and where she's from, and maybe how old she was when she gave birth to you. Maybe also what you know about your birth. Maybe your mother has told you something about your birth. Was it long? Was it short? Was it dramatic? Was it easy? Things like that. Was it a home birth? Was it a C-section? Whatever. Whatever you know, if you know it. And I would also like you to introduce your mother with your own words. So how you know, what is her personality from your point of view? How have you experienced your mother? What have you very valued or still value in your mother, and what was that you struggled with? Okay? All right. Who will be the first? You all have a go, so don't be shy. Yes, Kerstin. Very good.
Okay, I've only got a photo from both my mom and my dad, so I will just start with my mom. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Can everyone see that?
There. Yeah. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my mom's name is Elizabeth, and she's born in Germany, in the town where she still lives. And she's born on a Sunday. So we have the saying in Germany, she's a Sunday child, which is which means like she has luck all her life, or brings luck. So that's one part of my mom. She has quite easygoing, no, easygoing is not easygoing character. Like she's dedicated to what she does, but she is not overstressing stuff. So, but she has her values, and was quite strict when I grew up. But she is pretty cool. She's pretty cool. So when I was born, so I know from my birth, my mom, she was 20 years old, so that was pretty young for my mom. And they still lived with my grandmother. So when my mom got up at night, that she had to go to the toilet at 1 o'clock, and she, I don't know, what do you call it in English? She dropped a little bit of blood, or,
Her
the
water
first
broke?
hint that, now that I think the water broke, but something else happened as well. So my grandmother was instantly there, and she said, "What's going on?" And then my mom told her, and she said, "Okay, it's starting now." And then she woke up my dad, and she said, "Okay, we have to go to the hospital now, and the baby is coming." So I believe that was around about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and at 5 minutes past 6, I was born. So it was pretty fast, and yeah, I was there. I had jaundice when I was born. But it was nothing to be worried about. My dad actually thought it was quite cool. I had a little bit of color on my face, and yeah, I was a healthy baby. I was 8.5 pounds, 56 centimeters long, so pretty big, and yeah, healthy as. So yeah, that's me and my mom.
She sounds really cool. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And she's still around, is she?
Yes, she is. She's still around, lives her life. Didn't have such an easy life, but she made the most and the best out of it. I think the Sunday birth helped for her. Being born on a Sunday was a good blessing for her. So, yeah.
Well, it's lovely to have your mother with us today. Thank you very much. Thank you. Who's next? Yes, Connie. A little bit further away, just, oh, no.
Hang on.
Not too close to the,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Can you see it?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, so this is my mom. Her name is Siu Hua. Okay. She's 71 this year. She stays with me. She's just out there. I'm in my room. She's in the living room. Okay. She was born in Malaysia at a small town we stay in Kuala Lumpur. She was born in a little bit outskirt. So she had a very tough life when she was young. I think I shared a bit yesterday. So she has to drop her school. She didn't even finish primary school. Then she has to work to support her family. I think she's the, she has 7 siblings. I think she's the 3rd. So, I mean, the first 3, they didn't get to further their studies. They have to support the family from a young age. And then she got married to my father when she was, I think, 19. Then she gave birth to my elder sister when she was 21, I think. Then she gave birth to me when she was 27. I think the process of giving birth for me is pretty easy, because she told me she took a bus on her own to the hospital when the time is due, and then she get in there, and then she doesn't feel anything. So I think the doctor gave her some medication. Only then she gave birth to me.
Was it a natural birth? You know, no
yeah.
help other than medication.
No help. It was a natural birth. So it's pretty fast after the medication. And then my father left us when I was 1 year old. So she got to, that means she has to handle 2 children on her own. During my childhood, in the photo you see her smiling, but my childhood, in my memory, before the age of 16, she doesn't smile, because she has so much pressure. She couldn't make ends meet. She has so many bills to handle, so she always mumbles, she moon, sometimes she lash out on us. So I appreciate that she never gave us up, but I can feel that she's full of resentment. That was what I feel about her when I was young. But then as time goes, we grow up, then gets better. I think now our relationship at this moment in time, it is the best relationship that that I ever experienced with my mother. Yeah,
well,
that's
that's
all for
beautiful.
me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you very much. It's lovely to have your mother with us. I can feel how the energy is rising, and we got much more support today. Who wants to be next? Yes, Charlotte. Yes, you go.
I just sent you by email the picture of my mum.
Do you have it? I can share. Do you have it on your computer?
No.
Okay, let me see. I can share it. Let me just bring that up.
I'll just check. Went through.
Doesn't. Not yet. It's not here. Sometimes it takes time even. Did it get through?
Okay, 1 second. I'll just try again. So 2 6. Fam convert. Is it contact at Family Constellations?
Yes.
Or
Contact that.
okay, here we go.
Not coming through.
2 6.
I sent you mine, Maya.
Yes. Start with Janet, and Charlotte would. When I have it, Charlotte, I tell you.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You go, Janet.
Okay. So, did you get mine, Maya?
you also send an email?
Yes, I did.
Far out, why I'm not getting these emails. Hang on. Nothing. Ah, yeah, Janet's coming through now. Here we go. Let me just, I have to download it and then I can share it, right? Oh no, I can, hang on, I just stopped this sharing. I know how to do that. Hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. Here we go. So, can you all see it? Now you have to tell me who's the mother, who is you. You look like sisters.
So left is me, the right is my mom.
Yes, I was joking, but yes,
Uh,
totally.
I know. So a little bit about my mom. I had a very, okay, so first of all, she was born in Mexico, and I had a really traumatic birth experience. I was a premature baby, and the stories that my mom would tell me was that she went through a lot. Like, I have different siblings with different fathers, and my mom hasn't been in my life for 2 years, but growing up it was very like a tough childhood with my sister, and so my mom was never motherly. However, she was a go-getter. My mom was what I learned about her was she was strong. She was very strong, and I have worked so much on myself to really forgive her, and I love her, even though she's not in my life right now. I feel like I carry her personality and her strength, and I feel like that's powerful because I get that from her. And a little bit, my father wasn't in the picture. I don't know who my father is, but I just feel like I feel my mom close by, even though it's a lot of work to work, on my mother's relationship, but I definitely feel her from a distance.
That's wonderful.
So
That's wonderful. Wonderful. And was it also that because you're on the training for a little while, it started differently, your relationship to your mother when
yeah,
I
I
first met
feel
you?
like
Mm.
yeah, so I'm so grateful, to even be here, because I started with Maya. I wanted to share with you guys. I've been in the training for a while now, and I feel like when I first started with the different training group and I met different people, I was more shy. I felt like I had a lot, like you can see the difference in the beginning to now. Like, I'm really surprised, like I'm even smiling right now.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, when I first introduced myself, like it was hard to talk about my mother because I was in denial. And I'm full of gratitude right now sharing this with you guys and being here. So it's definitely been a change, and I can see it in myself.
Wonderful. Yeah, you look a lot different to a year ago, Janet.
Thank
Yeah, really
you.
happy. Wonderful. It's
Thank
wonderful to see. Thank you so much for sharing your mother with us and your journey. That's wonderful to see. Yay. So
thank
thanks.
you.
All right. So yeah, now I just check if I have Charlotte. Yep, I got Charlotte now. Okay. Right. Okay, here's Charlotte's mom.
Yeah, that's my mum. She's called Liz, and she is half Italian and half English. But she was born and raised in the UK, so she can't really speak Italian. And that's a pain for her. I was born on the second child, and my birth was pretty straightforward, apart from I came out blue. So that was a bit worrying because I thought that, I didn't have one when I was coming out. But I was born just on the stroke of midnight, so she got to pick if I was Monday very late in the evening, or the new day on Tuesday. And yeah, so I was born in the morning of the next day rather than very late at night. So that's and she'd eaten a big bowl of fish and chips before I was due to be born, which she promptly puked out, and then I was born. So that's lovely birth story. Growing up, yeah, so she's full of life and joy, but and silliness and humor, but that also masks a lot of trauma that she's experienced in her lifetime that she hasn't been able to process. So she does sit with a lot of pain and depression as well, and she's not very good at reaching out for support. So it means that whilst we've had a lot of love, we've probably had too much love and too much codependency from my mum. So I think really what happened was she needed us. She needed us to be born to give her love. I think really she's been lacking a lot of love and not able to ask for it or get her needs met. And so when she had 4 daughters, subconsciously, she needed us to love her. So that has been a pattern throughout my teenage years and my 20s and now in my 30s, that she needs a lot. She needs a lot of support. She needs a lot of love. She's not very good at doing things by herself, even though she's extremely capable. She's in her 60s, so she's still fresh and vital. But yeah, and she had a big psychosis in February. So she's not in her body right now. Not normal. And there's snippets of her, but yeah, she's a bit weird right now, which is quite sad.
Thank you for bringing your mother to us, to the group, and to introducing her. And I'm sure we can, through the course of the next weeks and months, help a little bit out there in your relationship with your mom.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. So, who is then the next one?
That's me, Maya. How do I share to you?
Okay, that's easy. I just allow you to share. Should be able now.
So do I bring I can't see a link. Do I bring my picture up, or?
You just go to share screen on the bottom of your Zoom window.
Yeah, I just can't see shares. Oh, yes, you have brought it up. Thank you.
But I can't see it, so you need to click on it.
Yeah, here it comes.
Yeah,
Can you see that?
Yes, now she's here. Very good.
Okay, so this is my mum. Her name is Denise, and she's in her 70s now. What do I say about mum? I should have thought about what I say about mum before I speak. Mum and I love each other. However, we have very different personalities, and I have always been a little bit difficult for her, and yet we've also been on and off at different times very intimate and good friends, and been able to get on well. Mum doesn't actually remember when I was born, and so we take it back to, apparently my dad was playing rugby at the time because he wasn't there, so she can't remember. And Mum's also had a trauma in her life, and a difficult time with Dad, and she's learnt one of her fortitudes and coping mechanisms has been to get on with life, and she's incredibly hardworking and looks for the brighter side of life and gets on and has a lot of fortitude, which I guess she and I rub up against, because I call her the Pollyanna effect. She just wants to Pollyanna everything, and she doesn't want to look at anything that might create tension or darkness or hurt within herself. So we sometimes rub up a little bit the wrong way, and yet we're very similar. Like, we love nature, and we can holiday very well together, and on a lot of topics, you know, we can be very aligned. So it's an interesting relationship with Mum. Yeah, it's interesting. It's just an interesting relationship. Mum's, you know, I just appreciate the fact that she's worked so very hard for my brother and myself, and the tenacity that she's done to bring herself through her life and through the challenges she's faced. And she's living, I think, her happiest life now with her husband in her 70s. I think she's finally in a community of friends, and she's got the financial and securities around her and the friendships, and it's really and she's not working, you know, for the first time in an entire lifetime, and it's nice just to see her blooming. That's
Wonderful. Yes, thank you so much to bring your mom to our group, and I can feel her support as well. And all your moms have so enriched us today, and they will be not gone just when we start sharing. They will be still with us, and we need them because we are now looking at how we or what we see in a family constellation in our relationship with mothers and children. So, yeah, I have to share my screen, of course. There we go. So, there's a saying from Bert Hellinger that you might see also in some books, and you hear about it is success has mother's face. What does that mean? That means if we have some unresolved issues with our mother, success is difficult for us. Now, what is unresolved issues? I'm not talking about hard, easy life or too much love or not enough love. That's not it. In the orders of love or in the soul movement, unresolved issues is that the child is rejecting, even subtly and even subconsciously, some parts of the mother. That is what we call an unresolved issue in the relationship with the mother in family constellation. It's never about the mother. The mother, and that is why it's in the orders of love, comes first. The mother can be as she wants to be. Yeah? This is the orders of the precedence. The child has no say in how the mother is. But we, of course, perceive that completely different, right? And this is what I call an unresolved issue with the mother. Because this perception of our mother is closing our heart, even just so subtly, and that allows not the heart to fully receive the love of the mother, which is always there. Because it's not her love, she's not creating it. It's the love of all the mothers. It's the natural ability to love and care for a child. And the most important part, and this is when it's kind of an eye-opening moment. It was for me, and it was for many. Is when I was in a workshop with Bert Hellinger, and he said there is one and only one proof that your mother did everything right, everything, and that is you are sitting here. If your mother would have done anything wrong, you were not here. You were dead. Because that's the only rule of your mother, is to bring you up. Not how, not where, not when, but that she brings you up until you can look for yourself. Right? That is mother's love, that is mother's care. Right? And everything else is of our perception, our perceived lagging of something. Yeah. But even if we perceive that the mother didn't give love, she cannot hold it back. You know, it is always there. It is. We have to receive it. That's the thing. And yes, of course, and you see that in family constellation, the mother itself maybe had the same with her mother. Yeah. And yes, because her mother came first, the mother from her love comes first through your mother and then towards you. And we see that in family constellation often, which we call an interrupted movement towards the mother, is not only in one generation, it can be in multiple generations. But for us, just looking at our mother, and we will have a little exercise for that, for us just looking at our mother and just perceiving her as perfect, as a gift only for you, right? And open your heart to whatever is there, that's already very, very healing. Yeah. Despite all the trauma that might exist and existed or still exist in the mother line, which we have enough time during the course of the training to look at it, yeah, and go there and find the healing movement. And this is why Bert Hellinger's favorite for this saying, "Mother success has mother's face." Because if you find you are unsuccessful in certain walks of life, you just need to see your mother there, right? And open your heart to her, and then you can open your heart also to this, whatever it is that you find lacking in your life. So the bond mother and child is of course the strongest, right? There is no other bond that is comparable with mother and child. Why? Is obviously because the mother was carrying the child, right? I'm not talking about a surrogate mom now. I'm not quite sure how that works. I never had a family constellation with a surrogate mom. That would be really interesting to see. But normally when the mother is carrying her own child, this is where the bond starts. And there's nothing alike. And we will talk about that in module 4. No, I'm not sure. It's the module 3 or 4. When we talk about the interrupted movement towards the mother in great detail, how important also the birthing is, and the first time after the birth for the bond. And what is a natural bond and what is kind of not a natural. What is like let's say it a natural bond over the birthing and after the birthing has taken place, and what can happen that it becomes not so natural. For example, if I get that right, all of you have been born naturally, was it? Or anybody with C-section? All of you. So what a blessing. Look, what a blessing. Now you look in America, right, Janet? I don't know, 95% or something, or insane amount of numbers. Babies are all planned and born premature, a few days, with a C-section. And they have already lost a really strong experience with a mother that bond them to each other. So this is the bond that is so important. This is why practically every family constellation, or everybody who comes to family constellation, and it's the first one, I guarantee you there will be the mother. The mother will be the issue, first and foremost. And it's not only one, it could be the first 10 constellations. Yeah, the mother always comes up. And that is good, because this is the strongest bond. And we cannot go further in our soul movement and healing if we don't get the full love of the mother, right? That she is capable of giving, that needs to be received. And of course, get out of preconceptions of the do's and don'ts of our mother. That is so important. And when you are, I'm winding forward in time, when you are doing family constellations, this is your bread and butter. You cannot expect most of the time some really interesting constellations where you find ancient traumas. It's the mother. It's the mother that comes up, yeah? So this is very, very important. And of course, it's equally important that we all clear our relationship with our mother before we start the work. Because remember, success has mother's faith. That's the same for every endeavor with family constellations. So the expectations are, as I said, we talked about that with the scientific approach. Expectations are practically always in the way for whatever you do. And I'm sure you have noticed that in your life. But isn't it hard to get rid of expectations, right? It's really not so easy. It's such a conditioning. But it's always good to keep on practicing not to expect a certain behavior, a certain outcome from whoever you meet in life. And we just learn that over time to be more relaxed and let go of that as a natural. It's a natural effect of evolving spiritually, if I may say that. On the souls, on healing the own soul and the family wound, it becomes easier and easier to drop expectations. It is already great to observe oneself when an expectation comes up. That's already a great step forward, and not so unconsciously dealing with it. So the most demands we have because of the special bond is with our mother. This is why our expectations are the highest. Yeah, and no mother can fulfill them, whatever she does. And especially a mother who tries to be a really, really good mother is not necessarily the one who is able, or the child is not able to open the heart to the fullest, because with every expectation, the heart closes up a little bit more. So it's quite the opposite. So mothers who probably don't see or look very motherly, it could be, the ones who have children with the least expectations, which is good for the bond and the healing movement of the soul. Now we have the relationship mother and daughter. We are all here. We are all daughters, well, we can say that for sure. Now the question is, who of you is a mother of a daughter? Hands up. Karen. Yay, so now it's your time to shine or to talk. Tell me about, what do you think is the significance or the uniqueness in a mother-daughter relationship? How do you feel that?
I think it's love, and it's, well, I'm just trying to define what that connection is. What is the difference from? I can't describe it in words as a word or a quality. To me, it's when I think about it, so it's hard to describe. It's a energy, it's a resonance for me, and so it's hard to describe it really in words as a quality, because they don't seem to matter. But it's but when I think of both of my daughters, these are because when you asked, I have two girls and a son, and so I was wondering if you were defining between daughters and son relationship. And it's, what is it with the girls? Because I have previously kind of argued that there's not a lot of difference within the relationship, my relationship with my son and my girls. And if I try to put it into words or qualities, there's not, and that makes sense. I can say the qualities I have with my girls, like connection or alignment or intimacy or knowing kind of what they're thinking or feeling. I can say all of those with my son. And in fact, I can say often more so with my son. I can look at him, and he was always the one that he could say a few words, and I just felt like I could be in his head and understand him. But when I think of the two girls, and they've all got different personalities, but if I think of the girls, I'm sorry, I can't be clearer for people because I've never really thought about it, but it's just a resonance. It's just all I can see is like a shard of light, and it's just this strong resonance that we stand in, that we're part of. And I can't say that it's more love than what I have for my son, but it's just a different different resonance. It's a very different resonance. And if I contrast,
do you if I ask you a question, do you think that it is that the difference might be that you see yourself in your daughters more than in your son?
Strangely, well, personality wise, no. My son, well, one of my daughters now, she's becoming more and more, like everyone says, that she's just like me. But when the children were young, personality wise, my son was the one that I just felt that I got. And for example, out of my mother and father, my father, I feel out of all of the children, I'm most like my father's personality. So, but that we're talking personality here.
Yeah. So what is interesting is when you say that is, and that's also where I want to get up a little bit at a little bit in the mother and daughter relationship, is that you might know and have heard that we are subtly, like it's not a big, but subtly, if we don't like anything in us, we are disliking that in others. And my question is, because I see that a lot in family constellation, is that with the daughter-mother relationship, yeah, that either the daughter to the mother or the mother to the daughter, they see in each other, maybe even unconsciously, something they don't like in themselves. And that also creates a little bit of a distraction, or a dismissal, even if it's really, really little. However, it is with the other sex, other relationship, like with the son or daughter to father, this is not so likely. Yeah, that there is this subtle comparison and then this rejection of what I don't like in myself. And then I don't want to see, I see that in others. Not only that you see it, but it is the resonance. As you said, I like the word. It's the resonance is different because it's a little bit stronger or a little bit more dense. Like this is a little bit more.
It is denser, and that's what I was thinking too, Maya. When I was thinking about it, it's kind of denser and stronger and wider almost. If I was trying to think of my son and think of the daughters and the son. And yeah, that's interesting. Thank you for that. I'm going to feel into that a little bit more and see what that space feels like.
Yeah. So this is kind of the things that you see in a family constellations often, that this is an underlying energy that you feel there, that you want to look up. That is just that is just good to observe. And we all observe, and then we don't need to draw a conclusion out of that. We can just observe and soak it up, and let it be there. Just let it be there without any judgment. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Sorry, I guess maybe with the girls that you feels like, and I don't know whether this is an enculturated feeling, like the girls, it feels like it's, I mean, I love all of my children, and the girls, it feels like it's almost like the given is that it's for a lifetime, almost the feeling of the given. But it may be because I've grown up hearing that story that the sons marry and the sons move away from the mothers. I don't know, it might just be an enculturation.
I actually hear the difference. I always heard when you have a son, you gain a daughter.
I've gained a daughter.
That's what I hear. And then when we have a daughter, she's leaving to the husband's family, and it's quite far. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely in many cultures the way that the daughter's leaving the house of the parents, right, and moving towards the family of the husband. Yeah. But anyhow, that's culture. Yeah, definitely different cultures. Thank you for that. So this is now the other question: who has a son? I have a son. Anybody else? You have a son too? Kirsten has a son. Okay, Kirsten, you want to share with us what do you think is the essence of a mother-son relationship from your experience?
Can you please say that again? You were cut out.
Okay, so I was wondering whether you want to share what from your experience you think is unique or the essence in a mother and son relationship. How you experience that.
Well, I have to say, I couldn't have hit a girl. I think they would have driven me nuts. So I was given a boy, and it's okay at the moment. So
Right,
it's
well,
that you know, I just I love my son to bits. He is the person he is. He's taught me heaps and heaps and heaps. They know, I think our kids know a lot more than we give them credit for.
mhm.
And at the moment, I can say I just go with the flow. He's a cool dude. He's cool. I love him, and I can't say any. I couldn't
Good.
make a difference. I don't know what a girl is like. I just know I couldn't have dealt with a girl.
And that is maybe what we just have discovered, that you might have seen too much from yourself in the daughter that you don't want to see. Well, it's just a speculation. But this is what you definitely see often in when you work with mother-daughter and mother-son relationship with clients, that this is kind of my experience. This is why mother-son relationships are often easier. Yeah, they are often perceived as easier. And you even perceive it so strong as easier, Kirsten, that
Mm.
you're glad you didn't have a daughter. It's really good. Yeah. Well, this is so we are all daughters to our mothers, and we all know, and it is something to ponder on. You know what we think is unique with our relationship to our mother, which nobody else in our life has, right? And that would be something for the next 21 hours till I see you again. That you think about that a little bit and feel into it a little bit. So, now, what are the issues we have with mothers in family constellation, and also then, of course, we self have it if we are part. You know, society is teaching us one thing, but then the soul movement is showing us another, right? And we are, of course, only concerned with the soul movement here, not with what society wants us to think. So the letting go is also, you have a unique bond with your mother, or every mother has a unique bond with their child, regardless how it looks like outside. Now the letting go process is the most difficult one, right? In the mother and child relationship. And not many can master that very well. Yeah. So what does that letting go mean? That starts already with giving birth. That is the first lesson for letting go, right? And this is why we have a lot of birth traumas as well that we have to deal with. This is the notion of this is for the mother equally to the child. The bond is so strong, sharing one womb, sharing one body, sharing, you know, everything else. And then this has to end. This has to end, because if the baby would stay there, it would die and the mother would die too. So this is what the first lesson of letting go is. And then the whole childhood of a child is twist and torn between I need my mother, I need to go to my mother, and I have to let her go. It's kind of this twist and torn situation every child deals with, right? And then, of course, as younger the child is, as more it goes to the mother to get the nutrition, but as more it grows up, it has to let go more. And just to this is just a dynamic, yeah. So the letting go can be something that is healing for a mother-child relationship in a family constellation. We have the interrupted movement towards the mother, which is a translation from unterbrochene Hinbewegung zur Mutter from German. We will look in this in great depth in module 4, so I don't want to talk about that too much in greater details here, but that is the first step of the letting go, is first to move towards the mother fully. Because why there is a problem is that there is not a fully movement towards the mother, cannot be a fully letting go. And the result of letting go is to be your own person, completely grown up and ready, to face your own life. And this is, as I said before, bread and butter as a family constellation facilitator and systemic coach. Because I have never seen anybody who has not had anything to do there. Not one client or person that I know of, including me. So now we have an exercise, and I put you in breakout rooms, and I would like you to meet your mother. And I would like to, I put you in breakout rooms of 2, so I share one with one of you, is representing the mother, and one is and you are representing yourself. So you are yourself, and your body is your mother, right, in the breakout room. And then without communication, verbal communication, I just would like you, the child, to look in the eyes of the mother. No comments, nobody saying anything, right? Just looking in the eyes of the mother. Yeah? Okay? And while you do that, I would like you to keep in the back of the mind the question, just the question. I don't want you to answer it. I want you to have the question in the back. What is mother's love and what is children's love? It's just a question. I don't want you to answer it. Yeah? Just think about it. I put the groups, let me just stop sharing. I will create the rooms automatically. So whoever is left is with me. And I don't know who that is. Yeah? So you will be 2 in a breakout room. You have a minute each with your partner. So it's a minute that you are representing the mother, and the next minute is that you're representing yourself. Yeah? So you swap after a minute and a half, and I will text you. You will see that in your breakout room. There will be a message to swap. And then you just swap. And then I see you again, and then we have a little chat about it. All right, are we ready? Okay, so now you see who's assigned to which room. You just have to click on it. Join or accept or whatever comes up there. I don't even know. No? Okay, hang on. One more step. Here we go. Charlotte, I have you. Let me just pause the recording again. Everyone's back. Yep, here we go. And Kerstin, very good. Right. So, who wants to share or start sharing? We all share how it was for you in the role of the mother, and of course representing yourself, looking at your mother. Who wants to start?
I can start.
Yes, Karen. Yep.
So which one do you want first?
Whatever you want. Who was your partner?
I was lucky to be with Kirsten, and I was the child first. And for me, I felt like I was receiving a lot of love, and I felt like it coming into me. And when I was the mother, I actually felt the love going out of me. And then I also felt us kind of almost merging together, and it was a feeling of alignment, but I almost kind of, as the mother, I started feeling a heartbeat as well. So that was my experience.
Thank you for sharing. Very good. And Kerstin?
So for me, from the point of being the child or being the mother?
Wherever you want to start.
Well, for the child towards my mother, it's not quite unconditional love, but pretty close. Amazing work from my mom, just amazing. And as a child, and as a child, I have unconditional love. No, not quite. Blowing. She is unconditional loving me.
Very good. And you representing Karen's mother, what did you feel?
No, we hadn't gone to that. We haven't managed to get that far.
Did you not swap?
No, when you started, Kirsten, we started and you were the mother and I was the child, and then when we switched, I was the mother and you were the child. So at the first one at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Did you have any experience then?
Well, I think I have these quick concepts at the moment of switching people online.
Meaning?
That I think I misunderstood the exercise.
Ah, okay, good. That's fine. No worries. Okay, we go to the next group. That would be Janet and Courtney. Who wants to start?
I'll start. So when I represented Connie's mother, I felt like there was distance, but there was this light around, like it felt like this light around her, and like it was far away distance, but I wanted to give her a hug.
Yeah.
And when she was when we switched and I was a child, I almost like was just full, like not almost, I don't say the word almost, but full of happiness. Like it was a lot of love, like love, happiness, and yeah.
Sounds wonderful. Yeah.
Okay,
And for
my
you?
turn. So when I was the child looking at Janet as my mother, I feel, I mean, that there's some element of love, but there's a lot of neediness. She needs me because there's always a lack of love. So there's a lot of codependency that she needs me more than she loves me. It's very heavy. She needs me to take care of her. So this is what I feel. So when I represent Janet's mother, I can feel there is a lot of love from Janet. But the feeling that I have is I hope Janet can move on with her life, and that she can fly in her own sky.
That's a lovely feedback for Janet. Thank you for sharing. Charlotte, how was it for you being yourself?
It's great being myself. Yeah, so we just did it the one way. I was myself. I definitely felt resistance towards my mother. Like I wasn't open, and I didn't really want to fully let my mum in. There was a wall.
Interesting, because when I represented your mother, I felt judgmental. No? That's all that came to my mind, judgmental. and very uncomfortable, like something in my neck, something very uncomfortable. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. We definitely have to
Was
look at your
lot.
dynamic with your mom. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to let her in, which is
Hmm.
how it is right now, actually.
Hmm. Yeah, well, there's lots of room to work with. Very good. Very good. Thank you for sharing. I hope you enjoyed this exercise to meet your mother. You will meet your mother a lot more during the course of the training, in either in an open workshop or in practice workshop, and make use of it. Make use of it. And also when you're representing, when you're in an open workshop and a practice workshop and you are representing others and you are the mother or you are the child, whoever you're representing, wherever there is this interrupted movement, that you are, in a family system where you are representing, when you have the fortune to be on either part of it, yes, it's working on your own, right? It's amazing how the field gives you this gift, right? So you don't need to constellate your own mother with, already improving your movement towards the mother. I just remember when I was I don't know how many hours I spent with family constellation with Bert Helling and Sophie Hellinger over the course of 4 years. But I had probably only 4 or 5 constellations in total, max, right? Still so many representations, and just to be in the field already is moving you forward, 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 always forward. Just to be in this energy field already is what is healing in your family system. Right. So time check, perfect. We have our break before we meet the fathers. So let's say it's almost half. We meet at 22 the hour. I'm not quite sure Malaysia if you are. Do you have? What's the time now in Malaysia, Koini?
2:30.
Ah, yeah. So it got a half two. Okay, very good. So meet you at 22 the hour. Who's starting? Introducing your father. Did I receive any emails with photos again?
I'm gonna send you mine, Myas. I'm gonna send you my picture.
My picture of
Who's
my dad.
speaking? Sorry, Karen. Now who's speaking? Charlotte, you got the same picture, right?
Yeah, it's on the same email.
Ah, it's on the same email. Ah, yeah, here we go. Very good. Okay. Let me share that. So why don't we start with
Sure.
Charlotte then? Let me just share that. Here we go.
Oh, that's my dad.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a really lovely picture of him. But in his garden, which he's really proud of. So me and my dad, yeah, we've had a rocky relationship over the years, and actually it's in the best place it's ever been in now. He is very violent and aggressive when we were growing up, so it was very hard to feel love from him and give love to him. Like there was just it was a very closed off relationship with him. Yeah, so I have a bit of trauma around, that, because having a violent parent was pretty tricky actually, and it has impacted my relationships, and how I form relationships with people and men specifically. But we kind of so I was very, very angry in my up till probably my 20s, and then in my 20s it neutralized, and I didn't feel anger, I didn't feel anything. I just felt like if he died, I won't care, or I wouldn't mind or know how to feel. And then I did a bit of work the last few years, a bit more work chipping away. And I definitely, like last year was a huge breakthrough in opening my heart to him. Yeah, I could really see him as a wounded little boy, which is why he did all the shitty things to us. It wasn't his fault. It was because of what happened to him. And like, opening and being able to feel compassion for him really was like amazing, you know, and I just felt a lot of love for him and sort of could let go of what happened. And we had a very amazing conversation where he said he felt, you know, guilty every day for how horrible he was. And it was lovely. And I just said, you don't need to feel guilty anymore. I love you. I'm fine. You don't need to feel shame. I'm okay now. And yeah, we don't speak all the time, but I love him. I care for him and I want him to be happy. And there isn't any anger left, and I do care about him. And yeah, my parents are separated. So yeah, interesting dynamic.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, already a big journey behind you.
Mm,
Yes, very good. Yeah, so violence in families is obviously a very known phenomenon,
mm,
which you also will have to deal a lot in family constellation. And this is the trick here is to not see the picture that is drawn. Yeah, you only work again with the soul movement. And you don't let, as a facilitator, you don't let yourself be drawn into any kind of story. Yeah, and that is especially hard when somebody says, I've been abused as a child, right? Or my father was alcoholic, or my mother was alcoholics, and she beat me all the time, or something like that. You know, that is hard to withdraw from that. But this is your role as a facilitator, to see the soul movement behind and just disregard the story. And how do we do that? And we just place representatives there. And then we see it without any expectations. So especially when a client shares a story that it goes into violence and abuse and all of this charter, it is not appropriate to let them talk. This is completely different to any kind of therapy you might have heard of or might have had or been touched. When we work with family constellation, we are not concerned with the stories we've been told. We go beyond. We see for ourselves, with the help of the representatives, what the soul movement is telling us. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I will stop sharing your dad, and then who's next? Do we have another picture from somebody here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Janet. Okay. Yeah. Why don't you go then, Janet? Let me see. Here we go. Let's share him. Did you not just say share, or did I hear that wrong? That you said you don't know your father? Who your
Yeah, I
father
don't
is?
know. I got that picture off the internet.
Oh, so you know who your father is, but you never met him.
Yeah, so
Ah,
that's what I
now
mean.
I got this. Oh my gosh. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I have a
Right.
picture. That's him. And so about him, my mom actually, when I was like 18, she told me his full name and opened up to me about him. And so that's how I found him. We've connected through Facebook and we've had conversations, but I feel like there's a lot of, he shared to me the relationship with my mother in the past, and he apologized, you know, for not being in the picture, not being there for me. But I feel like there's a lot of guilt. He has a lot of guilt, and there's a lot of rejection because um, we were doing good and I forgave him. We were working on a relationship and we were planning to visit and stuff. Um, but out of nowhere, he disappeared. And it's been like, it happens on and off. And I got to a point where I'm like, I didn't know what to do there. Like, I didn't know if I should just completely like cut him off or give him another chance. But but I didn't cut him off. Like the door's still there, like it's still open. But however, he just like there's a wall, like he doesn't want to face me. And he has his own family in Mexico now. And so it's hard for me every day to really let myself be in a relationship. Like I didn't have the masculine energy in my life, so I feel like it's very hard for me because it's hard for me to trust. Or maybe I'm just overthinking too much. But him and my mom's relationship, there was a lot of like both of them, they had like alcohol problem, and he like physically and mentally abused my mom, and that's why my mom ran away from him. So I feel like sometimes I get stuck in a position where I have to keep running away. Like I don't want to confront my situation. The quickest thing for me to do is just run away from a situation. But I do want to be honest, I've been doing a lot better on that. Like I'm not running away because I've learned that's worse. When there's fear and you just want to run away from all your situations. So I do feel like a lot has to be because my father was not in the picture. Oh, and by the way, his name is Everardo Garcia. And yeah, it's my father.
Thank you for bringing your father into the group. I'm sure he is there in spirit to support you, regardless how emotionally he is stuck in whatever he's stuck in. So if we are aspiring to develop ourselves and go the path and maybe become a facilitator and share everything, it is absolutely crucial that we go through all of this. And this is why we have so many workshops and practice workshops to attend, because this is where you are working on your own issues, right? So make sure that you stay put with the dates on the community calendar, and that you come to the events. Yeah, be it a practice workshop or be it a open workshop, doesn't matter. As more you participate, it's not only to observe and gain knowledge. It is there for your own work, right? It's all paid in the group fee. It's no additional fee. Just take this offer, yeah, to come and work. Yeah, it's very important. Yeah, very good. Thank you so much, Janet, for sharing. So let's stop that. And who would be the next one whose dad comes to the table?
I can be next, Maya.
Yes, right.
I will share.
Now, hang on, it maybe has thrown you out. Let me just check.
It's there.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, very good.
Can you see my father?
Yes.
Okay, this is my father. His name is Whero Timata. He comes from a Maori ancestry from Taranaki, and he also comes from a Cook Island ancestry. And we thought German was where the blue eyes came from, but there has been another story that maybe it was an American man. So who knows? But Dad is Dad is the eldest of 9 children, and he is the only one with blue eyes. And then he has 3 other half brothers and sisters. So out of actually, so not 9, sorry, out of all of them, he is the eldest and the only one with blue eyes. Dad has been my rock. He's had challenges, and he's caused disruptions within our family household and our family patterning. And disruptions in my, like personality wise, there's been problems. He was a problematic man in his younger years. There was violence and there was disruptions and not showing up, and Mum ended up leaving him, and a womanizer through to his death. however, despite all of that, Dad and I went on. I've never ever not felt loved by my father. And when I was more cognizant, I kind of kicked him out mentally, decided that I would not have a partner like him. But we've always had a very connected relationship, and it got better and better with age. So I just actually feel blessed to have had Dad in my life, and I didn't realise until he passed away 8 years ago just how much of a rock he was to me, and just how safe he made me feel in the world, and also how safe he held my space within my family system. So I'm really appreciative of him. I'm appreciative of the qualities that I have that are like him, and I feel lucky to have had him in my life.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Wonderful. Right, who's next? Yep.
I can be the next.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a photograph of my father.
Yes,
As
you
I
told us.
told you, Maya. Can I just
So
go
tell
on
us
and
again,
share?
why did you not have a photograph of your father? What was it again? Because he died when you were 1, was it?
No.
No, sorry.
He just
wrong.
he just left. He just left us when
He left.
when I was 1. Yeah.
Okay.
So but I met him a few years later.
Mhm.
So in my memory, the first introduction that I had with him, that I think I was about 3 or 4. Then he came back. Or I don't know for what reason. I never asked. I never asked my mom, because every time I asked, she got very upset. I don't want to upset her. That's why I never asked. And then as we go for long, it doesn't to me right now. This remember was he slapped my mom on her face, and then she went mom's house, my grandmother's house. So that is the first memory that I had on my father. That was about when I was about 3 to 4 years old. And then again he disappeared and never come back. And then when I was about 6 or 7 years old, I can remember that time I went to kindergarten. That's about the time. My mom would bring me to see him on a monthly basis to get some money from him. Yeah, to get some money allowance. To say that I hate him, that's not correct, because we virtually we don't have a relationship. There's very, very little interaction. It's just once a month for 20 minutes. And then to me, he is very indifferent. My mom, she's not highly educated. She doesn't have any skills. So she do some low paid job, but it's not enough to support me and my sister. So we did that. And that continued for a decade. So from 6 to 16, that happens on a monthly basis. Until when I was 16, I told my mom, enough is enough, because 16 in Malaysia is the legal age, but you can work like 20 to 30 hours per week to earn some income. So I said, enough is enough. I'm going to do that. So I'm not going there. If you wish, you go on your own. And then the next year, when I was 17, the latest update that I had was that he passed away in the jail. He was a drug addict.
So did you visit him in the monthly basis in jail, or was it not in jail?
No, okay. I stopped visiting him when I was 16.
And then he went to jail.
I think so.
Thank
Because
you
to
for
me,
sharing.
Yeah.
And so you met him every month for a few minutes, but you never took a photo?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
Welcome.
So, Kirsten.
So here's my dad. Can you see them, sort of?
Yep.
He was the best dad you could wish for.
Mm-hmm.
He's my hero. And he passed away 2013, and I miss him heaps. He's been always there for me. I grew up with him because he was sick. He got really sick when he would turn 20. At the army, he developed multiple sclerosis.
Mm-hmm.
And till the end of his days, he was okay for about 20 years. He could walk, and then it slowly got worse and worse and worse. In the last 3 years of his life, he was bedridden. So my mom looked after him, and but he had such an intuitive knowledge about people in the world. And I always think he must have been sort of connected to the source we are talking about. He had so much knowledge. It's just unbelievable. And especially with, he has not been participating in social life, say for the last 10 years in big ways, but he had this knowledge. It's just unbelievable. So I'm just blessed to have this father. I'm just blessed.
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing. So it's lovely to have all your fathers now coming into the group and supporting us. And there were a few interesting hints to what the father stands for, especially in a family constellation. And what I think, Karen, you said he's a rock, right? Yeah. This is what the father stands for, and also for Kirsten, of course. Uh, being a rock, right? That is so the mother is the nourishing, the caring energy, and the father is the energy that gives structure, stability, and strength. Yeah. And that is not a concept. That is what you see, what we are set out to be as humans, with a certain sex, that our gender that we are born with, to become that, right? And if it's not so, then this is causing an imbalance in the family system, right? So when there is a lack of this energy, when there is a lack of that, when the father is either not present, or he is, yeah, for example, violent and or addicted, or not present mentally or emotionally or something like that, then this function cannot work, right? And this is causing an imbalance. And this is making the child, the same as interrupted movement towards the mother, become an interrupted movement towards the father, right? Which is also possible and does happen also frequently. Not as much as with the mother, but still frequently enough that we see it all the time in family constellations. So if I share the screen, then you will see that in a family, when we are still talking about the orders of love, the second order of love, right, which is a precedent, who comes first, right? And we have established that we have this lake situation with parents. They are equal. No, it's not the flowing river situation, it's the lake situation. However, they have a certain role, if you will, like on a soul level. So as I said, the mother is the one who's nourishing and caring, and the father is the one who secures the system. That is the old school thinking. That is what Bert Hellinger teaches. Yeah. The father comes first, but not in a way of the love flowing. That's not. It is how you place them. No, you start with the father, then the mother, then the children in the order of their conception. Yeah. So this has nothing to do with society and what's going on in the world. This is how the orders of love are established in the family system. Yeah. So that also means the father's to the right side of the mother, and the children are normally in front of them. Very often, when you start a family constellation, mother and father are facing each other, which is a hint of a confrontation. Yeah. Charlotte.
So with the the orders of birth, it's mother, father, children. But then the orders of love, it's father, mother, children.
What was the first thing you said?
Well, on the previous slide, we had order of birth, and you said mother, and then the father, and then the children.
Did I say that?
Yeah, I thought so.
I don't think
For the
so.
order of the birth.
I questioned that, Charlotte, and Maya came back and said that mother and father were in the same order. That's where
thank you.
that lake thing came about. But it was just written, I think it was written down on the screen. That was why you may have
That's
thought
it.
that.
Oh, because the bullet points. Oh, thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying
Yeah.
that. So this is not establishing an order. No, no.
Thank you, and I missed that clarification. Okay, cool.
Well, that's
Thanks.
good. That's really good to understand that, right? That mother and father are equal in a family system. They are on the same level, yeah. But if you place them in a family constellation, they can be either left or right of each other, obviously, right? And when they are placed left, when the father is placed left to the mother, it is just a hint for us that there's an imbalance. Yeah. It's an imbalance. The mother takes over more of the role of the father. Yeah. That's all. And then when you see, we are not making magic in family constellation or voodoo or something like that. We let the souls find its own way. But you can see when then the representative of the father throughout the whole family constellation, whatever's happening there, finds its right place, meaning on the right side of the mother, next to each other, you will then know that something has shifted. Yeah, it literally felt into place. Yeah, without you forcing it. You're not going there and say, "Oh, that is the scientific approach," right? You're not going there, "Oh, I see the representative of the father stands on the left side of the mother. Now I have to ask the father to move to the right side." That has no healing impact. That's not what we do. But you will learn throughout the whole course and the time we spend together how to move the souls so they will find naturally their right place. And then that's for you to be assured, that's just for you a sign that aha, we have coming to an end because this was the right movement. No? And if it doesn't go there, then it doesn't go there. That's no problem. Maybe at another time. Right? But it is just so you understand this is the second order of love. And if it looks like this, it is in order. And if it doesn't look like it is not in order. Just speaking from the soul level. Yeah? Okay? There's a saying from Bert Hellinger, remember, success has mother's face and then addiction has father's face. So if you're working with clients of addiction, it is very important to place the father there. Again, we want to observe it. It doesn't need to be always, the father relationship, but it is most often is. Maybe not even the own father relationship, but an addiction can also be an inherited, an epigenetic damage that you inherit or your client inherit. So it could be another father's relationship, like grandfather, great-grandfather, ancestor's father, right? It doesn't need to be the own father. That's the other thing. So this is like a rule of thumb, if you will, right? Mother's success has mother's face and addiction has father's face. But it's a great way to start to inquire, if you know that, right? And addiction is really anything. I mean, before it was mainly alcohol, maybe drugs, often sex. Right? Sex addiction is a big thing in men that nobody really talks about. But nowadays it's also gambling, of course, as well. And nowadays it's also gaming and things like that, or addiction to food, even overeating or something like that. So all this can hint on a father relationship that needs to be looked at. So we have heard from you, you have shared that there are a lot of fathers absent. Yeah. This is actually, from the soul perspective, not a problem most often, because it's not the role of the father to be present, other than the mother's role, right? But from society and what we have been told and what a good father should be there, should be looking out, helping, protecting, and all of this. These are forming expectations in the child, right? And then the expectations towards the father are in the way for the father's love to flow, because an absent father's love can also flow. For the love to flow, presence is not needed. Yeah. And in many cultures, the mothers or the women, as a group raising the children, the men have nothing to do with the children, and they are not suffering, right? There's absolutely no suffering in these children. And what is another? Sailors, for example, or I don't know. There are groups of men that are frequently away for months on end and come back, and the children don't necessarily need to suffer. Yeah. Because the father's love is different to the mother's love. It can also flow because he's not responsible for the caring, for the same caring aspect as the mother do. And then if you look in the animal kingdom, of course, the father is hardly around to bring up the little ones, right? So this is something that we need to be aware of when we're working with family constellation and family systems and with relationship and these dynamics. So when we think, oh, my father was not there, that can be an interrupted movement towards the father, or it can just be a perception that something's wrong because I've been told the father should be there. No. If it's an interrupted movement towards the father, it looks the same, and it is the same as to the mother, and we will talk about that in module 4. And this is how you know if you're dealing with that or not, or just with some disappointment in the child due to wrong expectations. Yeah. And I can see you're beautiful women doing your own thing, strong and determined and loving and on your way. And half of you had problems or non-father, right? Actually, 3 out of 5. So that doesn't matter too much. So let's just quickly think about the father and son relationship. That's very similar, not very similar, but quite similar to the mother-daughter relationship. It's also often that the father has problems with the son because there's so much expectations towards the son. And because the father sees himself in the son and either is rejecting what he doesn't want to see, or he's putting the expectations he's been brought up with from his father to his son. That's a very common dynamic that you can see. Very common. And then, of course, the son grows up with this feeling of not being good enough, which he would rather have when he grows up with the mother. Can, but it's not very likely, not very common. And then the father and daughter relationship is comparable with mother and son relationship. It's normally more open, and this is why we always often see this daddy's girl thing, because he can be more open to the daughter. There's not as many expectations towards the daughter than towards the son, and the daughter as well. She can often, be freer towards the father and show her love more than to the mother. That is something you can observe in real life, if you will. But in the family constellation, that doesn't count. And the family constellation is only what the soul movement is. Yeah. And that can be completely different. Now, when we're talking about, especially when we're talking about mother-son and father-daughter relationship, there is a dynamic you see in family constellations that sometimes the son or the daughter thinks they are a better partner than their own mother or their own father. And that is the dynamic that we will talk about. That is often an entanglement with a former partner of the parent. Yeah. And this is obviously a breach of the second order of love, right? Because the child has no say. You cannot say, and of course it's not consciously, right? Subconsciously, but it would be then a little bit of, let's make a concrete example. Let's say there is a father, a daughter relationship and a mother, right? And then the father had a former partner that he left to, to be with this family and to get married and to have a child. So this daughter maybe grows up and comes into this dynamic that she thinks she loves her father very much, but she thinks her mother is not loving the father as much, right? And that he's not a good partner for her own father. So she becomes like, she grows up or into the role of being daddy's partner rather than the mother, And you can see that in a family constellation when this child has a very arrogant attitude towards the mother, and often wants to be at the side of the father, the representative, of course, not the real child, wants to be at the side of the mother rather than in front, father rather than the front, right? And this is a dynamic that is often known that you have to look for former partners of the father, because this child has maybe an entanglement with a former partner, and it's not her will to be a partner for the father, it's actually the will of the former partner who hasn't let go yet, right? Yes, Karen.
I'm just interested, I'm curious in that the entanglement. Is it that the former partner hasn't let go, or is it that the father hasn't let go of the former partner?
Could be
and
both.
He's still holding that space. Because
be
I
both.
can, okay, because I can see how because the child's connected so strongly to the father, that the child may be able to step into that entanglement that the father's carrying. But I'm confused at how
no, that's not the point.
Could
I see what you say.
Yeah, that the entanglement could be from somebody, no bloodline, and a former partner.
Okay, I see your question. This is a question because we are just at the beginning of the training and we haven't talked about entanglement yet. So, and it will all come up. You will learn all about entanglements. Just briefly, an entanglement is, so remember, the former partner belongs to the family system of the daughter. Former partners belong to family systems. And this is why a daughter can directly be entangled with a former partner, right? Not through the father, just directly entangled with the partner. How is that? We will learn about that, but that's basically because the former partner has created there's an imbalance in the family system because something has not come to an end between these partners. And this imbalance, the family system is sending then sending the daughter, so to speak, into the play to be entangled with the former partner to make it visible that there needs something to be worked on. And in a family constellation, these are wonderful constellations that are really, I was just to say, easy to deal with. That when it is clearly seen and you got the representatives and that they are on the right place, then you can see the dynamic beautifully dissolving. And the love so when we're talking about the second order of love, what we want to see is that every representative finds its rightful place, right, in this family system by itself, without us moving them around. That's not family constellation. That's family sculpturing or something like that. They will find the way. When we do our work right, they will find their way. And then everybody feels happy and relieved. And that's our work. And then it will ripple through the whole family system and untangle a lot of more entanglements and dynamics that you might be aware of. Just to create this order in the soul movements. This is why this is such a mind-boggling discovery of Bert Helling. That's what he calls the orders of love, because it does that. Yeah. Because the family system, remember, the system is seeking order. And it won't let go of any descendant until the order is established. It's like the family system cannot move forward if the order is not established. On a soul level, that is not that you don't, this is why I say, don't expect to see that in families and around you. Like, it has nothing to do with what society is doing. It is what the soul is doing, what the soul is longing for, right? However, you would definitely see in real life, if you will, after family constellation, such a constellation, that there will be, the relationships will be different in the family, and they would feel more order and structure, and therefore stronger. And they might even, find a new way to relate to each other in the right order, without knowing that they do that, of course. And they don't need to know neither. It's all happening just because of the soul movement. Right. Okay. So what more do we have? So the expectations, we talked about that, is a big thing, especially father to son. So we have, normally we are dealing with expectations of the child towards the parents. Yeah. But in the father-son relationship, we also have to look at expectations from the father to the son. Then we have a letting go, same as with mother, but since the bond with the father is nothing like it is with the mother, the letting go is normally easier here, and not very often a problem that needs to be looked at in a family context. Can always be, but not to be expected right away. So we will do another exercise, of course, with the same exercise we did with the mother. Now we do the father. Yeah.
Can you please explain it now one more time? I don't want to stuff it up again.
Sure. So you have two goes. I think I do 2 minutes each, because 1 minute seems to be very short. 2 minutes each. The first 2 minutes, Kirsten, you are representing yourself as a child, and the other one is your dad. Then I message you swap, and then you are swapping, and your partner is a child, and you are the father of the partner you are working with.
Okay, can you say it again, please?
So
First 2 minutes, I'm representing myself.
Yourself, and the second part, you are representing the father of your partner you are working with.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay. So now we will assign the breakout rooms, and I tried to mix you up a little bit. And I also get everybody back. So how different was that? Was it different? Who wants to start? Oh, Kerstin is still not with us. Where's Kerstin? Ah, here she comes. Right. Okay. Who wants to start? Yes, Charlotte.
I'll start. Well, when Kirsten was representing my dad, I kind of went into a bit of a trance, and I felt like calm and happy at the beginning, and then something shifted and I felt like a deep grief or sadness that needs to be expressed. And it was weird because I didn't even notice the breakout room sign flashing up to swap over. I was in like a trance, you know. And then when we swapped, when I was the father of Kirsten, I felt very, again on another planet, like so tired, like just a bit absent. Yeah, like I couldn't make the emotional connection. I was just there, but not there. So interesting.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Maybe, Kirsten, you want to add to it from your perspective? What has happened for you?
Yeah, when I was the dad of when I was your dad, Charlotte, there was anger at the beginning. Then there was a disappointment, just absolute disappointment about myself, and regrets that I wasn't there. But absolute love. I could feel the love, but it was just not. He couldn't show it many times, so he's very disappointed about himself. And when I was me, I cried because I just miss my dad. I miss him. But then at the end, I was okay. Yeah, it's all right. I just miss him.
Very good. Thank you for
And
sharing.
it would, and I have to say, and can I say one more thing? When Charlotte said she felt tired, to do with my dad because he really only closed his eyes at the end because he could not fight anymore. He was so tired.
Thank you. Okay, Janet and Karen.
So Karen represented my father, and I was a child. There was a lot of tension. Felt like there was like I could not open my eyes. Did not want to look at my father. And towards the end, I wanted to open my eyes, like open myself and accept, and I could not. It was just a very heavy tension on as a child. And we swapped, and I was her father. I mean, she was the child and I was representing her father, and there was such a strong connection, like so much love, and I was like, we were just connecting, and it felt really like good. Like there was like some smiles, like it was a lot of love.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. How was it for you, Karen?
Okay, I thought I was muted, but I'm not. When I represented Janet's father, it was really interesting for me because I felt like it wasn't a deep heart connection, but I just felt like the front of me was kind of wanting to connect. It was almost like sending feelers out, sending feelers out, sending feelers out. But there was such a strong disconnect. And it was almost like, and it kept on sending feelers out, and it was like there was just this big block between us. And I felt like, and this was a repeated kind of theme of sending these feelers out. And then I almost had this feeling of, wasn't confusion, but it was a feeling of giving up. And I kind of felt myself drawing back and turning away. And then I'd come back and sort of send the feelers out. And after about the third time that happened, that block was really, at first it was a disconnect, but by about the third time, it just felt like there was a block, that there was just something in between us that I couldn't get through. So that was the sensation that I had then. So it was sensation of wanting to connect, of a block, of giving up, of coming back. That was the feeling. And when it was my father, what I found interesting was I was expecting, I guess I was anticipating that it would be a great sensation of love. And it wasn't. What it was instead of that was an immense stillness in me. And I almost felt a blanket go around me. And the sensation of having a blanket, and this feeling of, I guess, empowerment, this feeling of empowerment, and this feeling of almost being set free to go forth and like go forth and conquer was the feeling, which was, which actually is probably appropriate to what I had with Dad. But it was interesting for me, because having experienced that feeling of being a mother, I expected to experience the receiving of my father's love like that, and it didn't feel quite that way, but equally nourishing.
Interesting. That's a great observation, because there is a difference. It's equally, the quality is equally, but it has another meaning. It has another energy. We need both, right? It's different giving, different kind of giving love. It's not the same. Thank you for sharing. And then we have Koini. How was it meeting your father?
Hey, at the beginning, I was trying to connect with him. I think it's very challenging. I find that I can feel that he's trying to avoid the connection. In some point, I feel sorry for him. I think I can understand why he's trying to avoid, because he sees me as someone as always come and take. I have no love to offer him. That there's no energy flowing. There's no energy of love. I can feel that he's a little bit indifferent. If there is a space, he wants to run away. That's what I feel.
Yeah, interesting. So I can share, representing your dad, that there was a lot of warmth. That was there. It was but also tiredness. Really tiredness, right? Tiredness. So it was kind of, there was warmth, there was love, but it was kind of an incapability of, I don't know, there was just this tiredness in the way. Yeah.
Which I can relate to that now.
Okay. Very good. Okay. And did you not said your father had a drug thing, or what was it again?
He was a drug addict.
See, addiction has father's face. So his relationship to his father would be the culprit. That he wasn't able to be a good father. So, or even another father in the line, in the paternal line of your father.
I'm not too sure how's his relationship with his father, which is my grandfather.
We will see in the next family constellation when you want to put it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never have a chance to find out in person. Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have to admit Kirsten again. Right, so let me share the rest of my slides for today. Okay. I'm not sure if I can see Kirsten. Can I see you, or is it your video off? Or oh no, yes, you are two. Okay. I have you twice. Can I just remove you? Yeah, I remove you. I think I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. No. Okay, fine. So let's look at what's coming up. Now we talk about the children. We talked about the birth order. Just remember, when I say birth order, it's kind of conception order. We are including the lost children as well. And talking about adoption children, now when you look at the family of the child that has been adopted out, so the blood family of the adopted child, obviously the child belongs in this family in the right order, wherever it was born. Yeah, that's no difference. Whenever it has been taken out, it's still the order when it was born. Siblings, order of where who comes first is first. Half season we talk about all of this. Now, when we talk about the second order of love and we talk about siblings, it is important, and there is a lot of imbalance in family systems when this is not a bite, and this is often not. The firstborn, and so let's assume the firstborn of a row of siblings is actually, the first conceived is actually born, right? In many cultures, in many countries, up to probably the last 50 years or so, the firstborn was the one who got whatever, the farm or whatever the parents had. Normally they only had one thing, yeah, and that couldn't be divided because then nothing would be left. Right? Let's say the farm needs to still exist, yeah. And so the firstborn got the farm, let's say this, yeah, and the others got nothing, right? But on the other hand, they were free to go, while the firstborn had to stay and do the farming, yeah, or if he wanted or not. That was his destiny, if you will, yeah. Now, if he didn't want to do that, and that's when people come to family constellation because they feel an imbalance, and then we found out that was the case. Now, let's assume he didn't want to do that. Let's assume he wanted to go and study and become a doctor or whatnot, yeah? And he would leave the family, and then the second one or the third one would take over the farm and do that. This is causing an imbalance. This is not good or bad. Don't get me wrong. It is causing an imbalance, right? And we need to find out, and we will tomorrow, how to balance that, you know, to bring relief to the family system. And then the youngest in a family system is always the one who is completely free to do whatever they want to do. Yeah, even if the family doesn't act like it, but it on a soul movement, that's the right on the destiny of the youngest to do something completely different, and that's okay. That's what they can do. Yeah. So as more children, as more siblings are in between the one and the first one, as freer they get, if you will. Yeah, and that's a very important order. And I don't know if you feel that, but you can see it in families. You can feel it in maybe in your own family, that there's a great truth to it. That there is this urge of the youngest to go and explore and do their own thing, which is not necessarily what the family used to do. And there's often not much resistance from the family to let them. Yeah. So that is just the right order. Yes, Karen.
Does gender come into this? So, for example, if the first sibling was a female, and then the second sibling was a male, does that change, or does that impact anyway?
It shouldn't. Not in the orders of love. There is no gender difference, but you're completely right. In many cultures, women were not counting. Yeah, so then, yeah, correct. It was a firstborn male who got the farm. Now, there you go. You got an imbalance in the family system that one of the descendants of this family will suffer for. with something. Yeah. So I was just thinking, comes to my mind when Kirsten talked about her dad and how he had MS and developed MS. Of course, MS is an autoimmune disease that is most often caused by an imbalance in the family system. So that would be also something, if you want to, Kirsten, to look at in a workshop. Yeah, where this is coming from. All right, so this is just a little bit of a tidbit. I just want you to remember the orders, the second order of love, the order of precedence is also within the siblings, and they have a specific order. That also means when the younger order cares for, a younger child cares for an older child, it's causing an imbalance. Yeah. However, when the older child cares for a younger child, that doesn't cause an imbalance. Just take this with you now, because you will see this comes up a lot when we go further in the training and look at other dynamics, yeah, how that plays up. So we talked about how we all count half siblings, miscarriage, and abortions in the second order, and adoptions. Now let's talk about a bit of a special case, a special need and severe diseases before 7 years old. So let's assume you have a child that is a special needs child or has a severe disease. And if it's a firstborn, right, maybe the second or thirdborn is looking after it. This doesn't cause an imbalance because this special needs child cannot look after itself, even if it's a firstborn. Yeah. So I had actually, I can just remember one case where this is so, and I can clearly see in the family constellation it does not cause an imbalance. So these are the cases where I wouldn't call it an exemption, but you need to be aware of that this is not so strict. So if, for example, if you see in a family constellation putting all the children there, and then that let's say the third child is looking after the firstborn, but they seem to be happy all about it, and then it is. I would then ask, is your sister or is your brother disabled, or do they have a severe disease? Are they, can't look after themselves? And the answer would be yes, because you can see that in the family constellation by the movement of the soul, what lies behind it. Yeah. Okay. Why am I saying before year 7 is also, I wanted to point out that these children, they are born with this destiny, right? There is and the destiny is also to find the right order, if you will, in the family, to put something right in the order, although it is taking the order a little bit out, so it's kind of out of whack, but because they are disabled or they cannot look after themselves, this does not disturb the order, right? That's what I want to convey. So, yeah, let's talk about grandparents. Grandparents come before the parents, come before the children. That's a given. We know that. So they come first. What I want to talk to you about is that entanglements intend to skip one generation. So you often see that a child is entangled not with a parent, but with a grandparent. That's more often the case than the other way around. Most entanglements skip a generation, sometimes 2, but very often a generation. Grandparents often play a role in a family constellation, so it is safe to have them represented there, at least one grandparent, to see if there is, an entanglement with another generation. But often also grandparents bring more support to the constellation. So if the client or representative feels weak, it pays off to put their parent or both parents or one parent there as well, and see if this is stabilizing the client or the representative. So that's the role of the grandparents, right? Is anybody of you a grandparent? I have to ask. Not yet. I can't wait, but I'm not. So that's what I hear. That's what I hear from my friends who are already grandparents, that they experience childhood completely new with their grandchildren. Right? It must be amazing. Yeah. So so this supportive, the parents, they, of course, they are the caregivers, and they are there most often. But they have also their expectations and their needs and everything else. Apparently, from grandparents, that doesn't seem to be so much an issue towards the grandchildren, right? This is completely different to what we see in a family constellation, where we can see entanglements with the grandparents. And ancestors, everything beyond generation 3, meaning generation 4 to 7, is for us ancestors. And yes, they have an order, definitely. Everybody who came first, so parents of parents of parents of parents, they all come first. But in the family constellation, other than in specific constellations where you have multiple generations, you don't necessarily need to put this order there. That would be more the old family constellation, where you kind of represent every single generation. You just would put one ancestor to represent the ancestors, the group of ancestors, and this ancestor would automatically take over the role from the morphogenetic field of the one to work with, right? That's the new family constellation. And you will see when you come to the workshops, especially the open workshops, then you will see how that looks like, because this is certainly something that happens frequently. Entanglements in ancestors, yes, definitely. You either skip every second generation, so you're coming from generation 1 to 3 to 5 to 7, or you just pick one ancestor that is, and you never know which generation it is. It could be 5, 6, 7. You don't know, and you don't need to know. Yeah. But if you have a repetitive pattern in an entanglement or in a dynamic, which we will talk about later, then you definitely want for each generation at least one representative to see if it is repeating and where it started. Right? So that's an alternative to just grab one ancestor and let them represent the source of the entanglement. Kerstin. Yeah.
Could you
go.
give an example for a pattern?
A repeated pattern?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for example, the most typical repeated pattern is an interrupted movement towards the mother, right? So the child has an interrupted movement towards the mother has an interrupted movement towards the grandmother has an interrupted movement towards the great-grandmother, and so forth. So then you need a representative for each generation to find out where did it start, and then reverse it and come from the older generation in this manner down. So start with the oldest generation and go to the youngest. Yes, Karen.
Could you just go to the first, the oldest, the cause, the first cause of the trauma, and instead of going through each generation and going back, would you go to the source, and would that trickle through the others anyway?
Very good question, Karen. Very good question. And my answer is clearly yes and no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, this is often in certain entanglements appropriate to go straight to the source and don't worry about where it's trickling through. But you have this, especially my example was the interrupted movement towards the mother, you can't skip. You can't skip a generation. Yeah. So these are, so that depends on the dynamic you're working with, if you can skip it or not. And we will definitely go through that. And if not, remind me later on. But I'm sure we will touch that most likely. So the right place of an ancestor, when an ancestor shows up in a family constellation, the right place is normally behind the last generation, or the first, like in the second order of last, the generation who was the first one who you are putting up, let's say the grandparents, and then you have the ancestors. Now in the second order of love, the ancestors would be behind the grandparents. No? because they came first and they give support. And the attitude, by the way, to everybody who comes before in the second order of love is, that would be a good question to you. What do you think? What is the attitude for the one who came after towards the one who came before? Give it a go.
Sorry, we're saying, what was the question? Are you saying the attitude of the one who came before to the one who came
The other
after?
way around. The attitude to the one who came later to the one who came before. How would you explain that?
That they can't change the one who came before.
Yes. Okay. So we would call that honor and respect. We're respecting them as they are. Yeah. And then yes, the attitude from the one who came first to the one who came last is acknowledging what is. Is a yes. Yes. Very good. Okay. Well, let's talk about patchwork families. This is not a biggie because you just need to have the orders, the first and the second order of love, soaked up like mother's milk, and then it is apparent how patchwork families work, right? There's nothing different. Everything works exactly like we said. There's only one exemption. A former partner, it's not an exemption actually. The former partner comes before a new partner because it was first for the relationship, yeah? Even though they are parted, and then there's a new partner. So in a family constellation, the former partner always comes first. There is, however, one exemption. That is when the new partner has a child, a mutual child. Now, the mutual child is forming, is kind of creating a new family system, and in this case, the former partner is not first anymore. That's just kind of a regular exemption to the rule that you need to learn or know about, and that's the right order in the patchwork family. And something that Bert Hellinger says is, which you might or might not ponder on and see if you can experience that in your own life, is the bond to the first partner is greater than to the next, especially to the first real partnership, the first real partner you've been with, even if the love is less. So this is coming back to the conscience. To break the first bond is always compared with a little bit feeling of guilt. Right. Charlotte.
Can I just get some clarification? So, say for example, they had a partner with who they had kids with, then they had a new partner who had new kids. So the second partner still comes first because a new system's been created.
Yes.
Even though there was previous children with the old partner.
Yes, the previous children are in the orders of children by birth because they are half siblings. So they come. You have to bring them together and put them in the order of birth.
And then, but still, and then which man is first?
And then the former partner is not first, is second as a partner.
Partner's first, former partner's second.
Yeah, with children with the first, with the new partner. Yeah, exactly. Doesn't change for the children though. They still have their sibling order. Okay, so we have 2 minutes. I can, but I don't have to. I have my figurine board here. Let's do it. Is it all? No, we don't do that.
I have to go at 8. Sorry.
Yeah, I know it's 2 minutes, so that's all right. We just briefly go through the orders and organization, just because they are slightly different when you think about the second order of love. We will talk about organizations in greater detail. So I'm just doing that briefly. Instead of going with birth and who came first, obviously. First of all, in organizations, we look at the function first. And then we look at the time spent, the education, the responsibility. Oh, I go back. And the responsibility, right? That is it. So that is the orders in organizations, just as a general rule. That's the orders in organizations. Now we have to find out what function, because there are more functions in organization, is first before the others. And then we look at within this function for time spent, right? So let's make an example. You have a hospital, and there is doctors, and then there's administration, and then there are the owners of the hospital, right? And then there are the patients, of course. So every group of them is a function, if you will, yeah. So let's look at the administration. The administration has maybe 10 employees or whatnot, yeah, and then this goes within their time spent. Yeah, who has spent the most time in the hospital comes before the one who has spent less time there, right? And then if you have, like in a big organization, you have like groups, they are equal, then you look, when you have to find the order there, education. So within this group, the one with the more education comes before the one with the lesser education. And when you still have a large group, which is really just in big organizations the case, then you look for responsibilities. So that's the order, right? So first of all, who always comes first is the founder. Without the founder, this wouldn't exist, whatever it is, whatever organization it is. And often the founder is hundreds of years ago, and they are often forgotten in an constellation, in organizational constellation. So that would be a great mistake, right? The founder needs to be there. He is like the ancestor. Yeah, he needs to be seen. He needs to be acknowledged. Then there are the current owners. If it's not the founder, maybe they are shareholders or a family or a generation of a family, whoever it is, right? So they are kind of owning the organization. They come first. And then the second is the administration, right? Because they are giving like the father structure to this, whatever organization it is, right? Without the administration or a chaotic administration, nothing would be successful and nothing would really happen. They wouldn't be able to perform as well. And often, from the perspective, like say a CEO or with whom you are working, the administration is maybe not so important, but it is, like in the organization, looking at the orders of second order of love in organization. The administration is placed to the right of the CEO, because it is like the rock. It's like the father figure, right? The one who's carrying, like the CEO, who is more the mother, the nourishing part, the one who's giving, giving not in this case nourishment, but giving jobs, giving instructions, giving all of this. After this structure in an organization comes the people who are actually doing the work. Let's say in a hospital, doctors or researchers. In another organization, it would be the engineers. In a law firm, it would be the lawyers. So they are who are actually the bringing the content to the company. They are not the first, right? And they are often seen as the first because that's all you see, because often you don't see the administration, right? And you certainly don't see the owners of an organization. And that is where the imbalance comes from, when they are not acknowledged and they are not in the right place, right? Within the group, the right order is the order of time spent. We talked about that. So let's take the group of lawyers. If it's a law firm, then you would look if there are 3 lawyers in this law firm that you're looking at for your client. Then you would ask who is the longest there. And then that is like the oldest sibling. That's the one. And then who is the second longest and who is the youngest? Like not age-wise, time spent. And then remember that is the second order of love. Who is first comes first, right? In whatever way. And even if you just put a figurine first on the board, yeah, that is the right order. Even if the new, let's say, department leader has a higher education, that doesn't count, right? First is time spent, and that needs to be acknowledged. And the best leaders who come later, and maybe with a higher education, they are the ones who are respecting the older ones there with lesser education and ask them for advice. how does things work here? You know, can you help me with that? If they don't do that, if they say, oh, I know everything, I'm coming from the uni, that would be a great distraction for the organization, and won't be that successful. And very good good leadership takes that into consideration, and you learn that in leadership seminars, right? And this is a natural order that you can also then recreate in a family constellation, if in an organization constellation. I can demonstrate all of that on the board, but we are over, and if we have time, we do that, but it's not important because we have a lot of more time when we talk about organizations anyhow, and we will make practical examples. So, part 3, tomorrow. What are we doing there? I have another assignment for you, of course. We want to see your partner, right? So if you don't have a current partner, no problem. Choose an ex-partner. If you don't have a partner ever had, then choose somebody that came to your mind that you might want to have. So everything counts. Whatever comes to your mind, whoever you want to introduce to us as a partner, future partner, former partner. But it should be a significant one, right? It should be a significant one, not your first lover. If you have been married for 20 years and with 3 children, then we definitely take your husband or your ex-husband, definitely, right? So there's no question. Any questions to that? All good? Good. Okay. So I leave you with this. I'm looking forward to meeting your partners tomorrow. And
I'm going to miss out.
Are you going to miss out, Janet? No worries.
Yeah, I have something going on tomorrow.
All right. Okay,
Right.
you take
I'll
care
see
then.
you guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Good night.